Hi everyone, this is the second video in the series of DialogFlow. In our previous session, we discussed about the first and a very basic step of about creating agents for a particular chatbot. We created an agent named Agent Snow, which you can also see on the left top corner. And when we clicked on that create button, the default screen which comes in front of us is the intent screen, which you can also see in front of you right now. So what are basically intents? Intents are actions that can be performed by the backend logic or maybe the backend code, and these are basically configured by developers like us and used to determine what action is to be taken by the code. In simple language, I can say it as intent maps what a user says and what your software should execute. So it works on the basis of what expressions or what content the user has to present, and on the basis of that it uh, corresponds with a suitable answer which is coded in the backend. So there are two kinds of intents which are available to us by default, which you can also see in the screen. One is the welcome intent, which is partially configured out of the box, and the second one is fallback intent, which is completely and fully configured out of the box. So let's talk about the fallback intent first. When we talk about fallback intent, we don't need to specify a user expression for this, because this intent comes into picture when none of the other intent matches the user expression. For example, let's say there is a conversation going on with the bot, uh, and you're talking about one of your orders which is not delivered yet, and in the middle of that you ask a question about some XYZ store which the bot is not aware about. In that case, it triggers the default fallback intent, which in other terms also means that, hey, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about, and then the fallback intent is triggered. So let's talk more about the fallback intent. You can see that here the context is available, event text is available, and certain training phases, and the action which gets triggered when you're talking about a fallback intent is input.unknown, and these are the default responses, like sorry, I didn't get that, sorry, what was that. And we can also test this by typing certain text over here. So I'm going to write how are you, and the default response which my fallback intent has returned is say that one more time. And you can also check for the action which was triggered, and that is input unknown, and the query score is 0.0. So this is how fallback intent works, and we can try with couple of other texts as well. See, again my fallback intent responded with one of the default text response which are configured over here. And now let's go back and we'll talk about the welcome intent. So this is partially configured, as I already said, and we can enter certain user expressions over here if we want to. For example, is hello already added? Yeah, it is there. We can add. So we can keep adding the training phases so that our bot gets trained, and whenever we type any of those, one of these responses will be triggered. So let's try with one of them. I'll type hello. and it says, good day, what can I do for you today? Because it was able to recognize whatever I'm talking about. And let's see the action. It is input dot welcome, and the same is being mentioned over here. And let's type what I just added to it, and it, oh, for some reason it did not recognize it because I did not save my default welcome intent. Let's save it and then try. And I'm going to give it another try. No, it doesn't work because I haven't trained my bot yet to respond to whatever I'm adding a custom training phase over here. So we'll see that moving forward how we can add a custom one and it should still work. So these are basically the user expressions, which, if you remember, were not part of the fallback intent, because fallback intent is supposed to be the one uh, which is without the user expressions. So basically there are four sections when we talk about intents. First is the expression, user expression. Second is the action. So user expression is something whatever user says. For example, I'm facing a login issue. I'm not able to log into my computer. Or how are you doing today? So all these are the expressions. Now second section is the action. Now whatever action is taken on the basis of the user expression. And third section is the response, which is supposed to be sent back to the user when user says something and an action is taken in the backend, and on the basis of that action the response is returned to the user. And the fourth section is the context, and context specifies the environment under which my intent operates. Okay, and if required we can also create our own intent. uh, these out of the box are simply for giving us an idea of how it works, but whenever we are talking about a chatbot to be used in our organization, definitely there are thousands of use cases which come into picture, and we'll be also taking one of those into account once we plan to include a demo for the integration between, let's say, DialogFlow to ServiceNow. So we'll talk about it more in the upcoming sessions. Thank you so much for watching.